Welcome, everyone. So this is the Riggs interview, right? I've known Riggs for quite some time. At one point, he was actually a relative. It was exciting because my daughter was married to his brother, whatever that is. I don't know. That's like an uncle in kind. I don't know. So when you're able to observe somebody kind of up close, you get to see not only what they're producing, but what they care about what they're producing. And that's something that's always stuck with me with Mr. Eckelberry. And the experience of the evolutions. You know, I think it's very rare that somebody jumps into a game and hits it first shot out of the box, that's it. I think you find most entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, they've failed 2 or 3 times, they've won 2 or 3 times. And all that enriches the final product. And I think that's where we are now by statistics, by input and everything else. So Riggs, what would you say is, what is the carrier wave now for the increasing success of water on demand and the opportunities that you're presenting?
Well, thank you, Artie. Of course, when you guys came along in mid-2020, we were in the middle of repositioning ourselves completely away from what we had been, which was, okay, we have great technology, we're going to take it to the market, everything's going to be great. What we learned was that technology is commercialized extremely slowly in water. Literally, they say in the business, it takes 12 to 15 years to commercialize a technology. But the world doesn't have that kind of time. And so we decided to completely change the way we did business. And so now here we are with a new model, which is an acceleration model. And so we're taking these amazing businesses that we're growing and we're accelerating them into the marketplace. So really, the key really here is to move much, much faster than people are accustomed to in water. And we need to, because only 1 gallon out of 5 in the world of dirty water is treated, and the other 4 gallons are thrown away. And you know they come back to you, right? Everything comes back to you. Everything you throw in the river or the ocean comes back. So it's high time that we do something about it. Now, I wanted to tell you that we have some great news. We have some updates on our own. This graph here shows the revenues that we had through 2021. Now, this revenue in a public company includes delivery. In other words, you brought in the money, and until you deliver, that money is a liability. You owe it to people until you deliver. You either deliver them the money or the product, right? So revenue in a public company means that you've actually taken the money in and you've delivered the product. So we were running about $4 million a year for a long time. And that was what we were dealing with in 2020. Like it stretched back in time to the same level, $1 million a quarter, endlessly. As a result of our efforts, you can see that 2022, actually I can share with you right now that the actual number is in excess of 10 million for the year. That's an unofficial number that we will be reporting in April when we report our final numbers. As a result, we think that 2023 is going to be much more than 12 million, et cetera. So that's great news. In addition, I wanted to show you how it breaks down, where we have some events that have occurred here. That green line is Progressive Water Treatment. That is a company that does very large custom installations. For example, they have one client, a prominent car manufacturer. We have a prominent online marketplace. We have a prominent power plant in the Southwest. These are all driving very good revenue growth, as you can see. They basically doubled their revenue based on tripling their orders in 2021. A company that we created in 2018 called Modular Water Systems. As you can see, and still in 2019, it was generating less than 500,000 a year. It was very slow and it was very painful. But finally, it started growing. And what you see now, the combination of the blue and the yellow, because what we've done is we separated out the line of pump stations. We now have 2 divisions where there was 1. So it's gone from 1 million in 2021 to roughly 3 million forecast for 2022. really, this is very, very conservative. I think we'll be in excess of 5 or 6 million in 2023. What are pump stations? What is modular water? First of all, modular water systems, it's a product line of what we call water systems in a box. The water industry builds things by hand, like houses. They put them in the ground, lots of concrete, etc. This is a different system. This is built in a factory, shipped out on a semi-truck, dropped in the ground, or just left on the floor, plugged in. So it's a highly standardized product line, which is meant to accelerate the adoption of water treatment systems by businesses. We're in the middle of a major shift from government monopoly of water treatment to businesses doing their own treatment. Why? Because water treatment and infrastructure is falling apart. Government is failing at its job. I'm sure that's a surprise to you. Government, I'm sure, is perfect in everything else. But in water, it's a disaster. We are falling behind every year by at least $75 billion. The end result is, of course, as things fall apart, people start doing their own thing. So businesses are increasingly doing their own water management, recycling, et cetera. And it's a very good thing. Why? Because they save money. They do well. So that modular water systems technology miniaturizes these large government systems into systems that are small enough for a business. They can fit on a floor of a brewery, for example. So that was critical, and that has become a new standard. Most of the jobs that modular water does are what we call design to build, meaning that no one else can do it. The client has said, your design is what we will build. So that is the technology side. Then in 2020, as Artie remembers, we were faced with a problem that we were still not getting enough growth. As you recall, I mean, I was literally showing you this graph where, 2020 for modular water was ridiculously low. It was 232,000. So we had to figure out what the problem was. And the problem really was that many, many businesses don't have capital. And so we created a way that businesses would not have to pay up front for the system and just pay by the gallon the way they used to do it with the government. They just do it with us. And we call that water on demand. Water on demand now is becoming a major startup. And I'm happy to announce that very shortly, we'll be launching an offering for unaccredited investors, because when you market only to accredited investors, which means people who are making at least $200,000 a year, or with their spouse or cohabitant 300,000, that restricts your marketing tremendously. This Regulation A offering will be shares in water on demand that anyone can invest in up to 10% of their annual income with a minimum of $1,000. You will be hearing about that shortly. And what we've learned is that in that flow, we find the people who are willing to invest more as big investors. So it's much more efficient marketing when you're able to market to everybody and just find from your pool of investors the people who might want to pop up. So we're moving to that phase, and it's very exciting. There's other things going on with water on demand with respect to its perhaps moving much, much faster to become a major public company, but unfortunately, I'm unable to comment on it. You can go to OriginClear.com and check news. Last few announcements will tell you what you need to know. I'm very restricted what I can say. And I also finally want to say that I'm blown away by the amount of support by PhilanthroInvestors. The amount of investments that have come in through PhilanthroInvestors has been booming. And this is important because remember, it's to put capital into water treatment systems that are paid by the gallon. So that investment goes directly into water systems. Currently, at least 50% of it, and soon it will grow to 100%. So I'm super happy with how we've been doing. We've got a lot of things going on in the background, and I want to thank everyone for your help.
I know that there's a lot of exciting activity right now, and I know you're not being a tease by not telling us. What can you say that will give everybody, because these are our ambassadors, they're going to be bringing this data to others. What's the message you would want to give to them that they can carry forward?
Here's the story. Right now in the world, we have a very difficult economic situation. I myself sit there and I try to invest in the market and I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do. You know, oil should be going up. but then it goes sideways. And gold should be going up, but it's not doing it. And then real estate should be doing great, but then weird things happen with interest rates. And so what we have is we have a lot of asset classes that are at the end of their lifespan. And so they're behaving weirdly, and governments are doing strange things, and we have wars and all that stuff. Water is at the beginning of its cycle. Why? Because it's been governmental. It's being liberated. It's kind of like when AT&T got broken up and it became MCI and the baby bells and the internet and everything else, right? I mean, everything just exploded once it got out of the monopoly of AT&T. So we have a similar situation where it's coming out of a monopoly. It's a clean asset. It's not political. Nobody is really paying attention to it from a political point of view. And we have created a way for people to get royalties from this asset. The world is moving from currency-based finance to commodity-based finance. What does that mean? Currency, dollars and other currencies are being inflated like crazy. You know that you can see that in the price of eggs. You can see that in the price of orange juice. I just saw orange juice skyrocket. I don't know. Who knows? So all these prices are going crazy. Why? Because currencies are being inflated, hyperinflated. And what we're moving to more and more in the world is everything based on commodities. And if a country has good commodities, it will survive well, which, by the way, is very good for certain countries like North America. I talk about the union of Canada, US, and Mexico. Argentina, by the way, is a very good place in terms of resources, for example. And that is going to be the strength of a country. And so if you can invest in a commodity, you will do well. Well, water is a commodity, and we've made it so that you can get revenue from it. And so when you invest in water on demand, you have a secured relationship with the hardware that we buy, so to enforce your royalty. So it's a good, stable revenue stream. And it goes on for 10, 15, 20 years. And of course, you get stock in both the parent company, OriginClear, and in the subsidiary, Water on Demand. And so you're in at the beginning of it. Now, we are being incredibly generous with our offering. Why? Because it's still early. This is the beginning of Water on Demand. We don't have an installation yet. We're still negotiating with several parties for the first project. We raised the money. Now we have the money. Now we're working on investing it. While it's still aspirational, you have an opportunity to offer your network an amazing founder's role in both OriginClear and Water on Demand. And that's why it's a great time. And that's why really there is no better asset, in my opinion, in the world today.
That's pretty straightforward. I think it's a very good answer. Does any of the ambassadors have any questions for Riggs?
I have a question for Riggs. Riggs, you mentioned before that you were doing a Regulation A offering. I'm just curious, is that doing a tier 1 or a tier 2 on that?
It's a Regulation A plus tier 2, yes. $75 million for Water on Demand. It's very simple. It's $5 a share in Water on Demand Inc., the new company. We're going to do a maximum of $75 million. But basically, this describes the offering, describes the company. So I've got a very good description of the company, the problem, where water rates are going, the solution. I won't bore you, but basically, we'll be funding Water on Demand customer projects and acquisitions. We plan to acquire companies as well.
I want to know, because of the way you talked about the water on demand thing, is it like when you have a community, could look for water, or want to break away from the government, will you still use the pipes of the government, or would you have a new circulation? How does it work?
Very good question. Okay, there's 3 phases to water management. The first phase is the incoming water, as you say, the clean water that's supposed to be clean that comes in. The second phase is treating the water that you use to make it clean. And the third phase is reusing it, recycling it. Okay. Now, typically, we're going to continue to rely on the government for the incoming water. Why? Because they have the rights. Now, you can also build a well on your property for sure, and and treat the water that you get. That's perfectly okay. But in general, we're using the government infrastructure for the incoming water. OriginClear is working to improve incoming water. We have a major client that we have not been able to disclose that is a premium hotel chain that is cleaning all the water that comes into the hotel. And they have a location in a Midwest country and one in a Southern Florida, Midwest state, and one in a Southern Florida location. The best I can tell you. And they have many more. So it's a very good client. And so we're entering that space. But our strong area is treating the dirty water. People always think when they think of water, they think of the clean water. But the problem is the dirty water. That's the problem, right? That's the thing that nobody's handling. And that's what's destroying health in the world. So we want to move into helping not just 1/5 of the water being treated, but getting closer to 100%. That's really our mission. And then the final thing, when you let businesses do their own water treatment, they will naturally recycle. Why? They don't have to pay for the water. If I paid for the water one time. A brewery, for example, can reuse half of its water, 50%, just for non-beer purposes, right? Washing down vessels, steam, etc. That means they're saving money on incoming water. And by the way, it relieves droughts. So it's a good thing. Centralized government does not recycle. Why? Because we built our water systems in the 19th century and they only go one way, from the city to the users, back to the city and thrown away. Recycling is going to be done by businesses at their own location, and that's very powerful.
What is the one thing that is most important to get across to that potential investor?
The most powerful message that we found for investors is that we've made water so it's like an oil well, meaning that people can make money from production of the water. And investors get interested, like, oh, because they know that you can make money from oil wells, right? It's called limited partnerships, right? So you can invest in there's I think, what is it, about 60 partnerships out there where you can participate in an oil well's revenues from production. A water system is going to treat water and create water like an oil well. And people like the fact that, oh, I can make royalties from water as opposed to oil. How cool is that? So it's a new way to make money in a very beneficial way. And it's continuing revenues, plus, of course, all the stock. By the way, on our website, we have right here, we have the company presentation. You can always show it to anybody right here. This is our company presentation, which I won't go through, but it tells our whole story. One last thing, PhilanthroInvestors is, in the history of my working with finders, the only truly productive finder network I've ever come across. It is a testament to both Artie and Ivan, and of course, Vendi and now Sky. So you guys are super important to us. We'll do anything it takes to support you. It is a brilliant idea. And we think that you're going to be absolutely essential to our future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.